that kind of behavior. Oh, throw down your guns. Don't be so reckless. Throw down your guns.
Don't be so
reckless. Everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching. Will we get flagged? It's Patreon.
It's Patreon.
No one's going to flag us for
No. Well,
singing.
can you get flagged for singing a song?
I think that's okay if we sing it, isn't it?
I would think so, right?
I don't know. We've never researched, but let's
We,
just
for the
say-
first few episodes of TOFOP, we played the Beastie Boys as our intro music. Check It Out was and no one gave a shit.
No. But that was back in the day. Now there's like AI programs or something
That will
that they run, that they scour. But I think our version of Australian Crawl's Reckless. It might have been James Rain. You asked me before, was it Australian Crawl or James Rain? It was in that period where he was crossing over to a solo artist. So there is a chance that it might have just been James Rain's solo.
I remember my older brother Jamie was very dismissive of Australian Crawl because he felt they were a rip-off of the Sports. You know, Stephen Cummings.
Sure.
Stephen Cummings, the Sports?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah. You know, it's a very similar kind of sound. And he's like, Australian Crawl was like, I mean, what would be the equivalent? They're like a... can't think of one.
This is good. Just one. Just come up with one example.
Okay. Indecent Obsession to the Sports is In Excess.
Okay, interesting. That is.
Do you remember Indecent Obsession?
Yeah, nothing the same though.
But no, well, as in one is a legitimate pop rock band.
Yeah,
and the
but
other
was
one is
not
a
the
pale imitation.
Was not the implication though, because Australian Crawl were a good band still. Was not the implication that they were just like I'll give you this one. Radiohead to Coldplay.
Okay, but
In
give
that
me an
they're
Australian example. I was trying to go Australian.
Okay, yeah, but I don't think In Excess and Indecent Obsession
Okay,
was the right
Midnight
example.
Oil and Indecent Obsession.
They're all Indecent Obsession.
It's the only kind of
Savage Garden and Indecent Obsession.
But Indecent Obsession predated Savage Garden, so you'd say Savage Garden
Or just a better
rip-off of
version
Indecent Obsession.
A better rip-off of Indecent Obsession.
Do you remember
You're
Indecent Obsession song?
right. When Will I Be Famous? No, that's
That was
Bros.
Bros.
It was something... Was it something that had like a hook like that, though? Indecent Obsession.
I mean,
So-
look, this is Patreon.
Were
so
they
let's-
brothers?
No,
Indecent Obsession?
no, that's Bros.
Yeah, I know Bros. Yeah, I'm familiar with the fact that Bros were brothers. It'd be
Indecent-
great if it was like... If it were that thing where you're like, actually...
They've got their own YouTube channel
all right.
with less subscribers than us. And I thought we had a low number.
In your face, Indecent Obsession.
Okay. All right. Okay, this is the song that I thought when I think Indecent Obsession. Hang on, let's skip ahead a bit.
Yeah.
Get to the chorus. Oh man, this is so like late 80s. Won't you tell me something? Who's gonna give me loving? All I want is one thing, and I need your love, right?
I mean, I can't believe I thought this thing that sounds exactly like Bros was Bros. But other than
That was not their big hit, I don't think.
okay. Look at can you not go to the Wikipedia page and tell us something about Indecent Obsession?
Yeah, like, I mean, while I'm doing that, why don't you explain to the kids out there, if we have any kids listening, who Indecent Obsession was?
So, well, I mean, I was hoping you might explain to us through the the tried and true.
So what I mean is your memory of Indecent Obsession.
They were a pop group, possibly discovered by Molly Meldrum.
Yeah,
I don't
Pretty
know.
Boys.
But they Pretty Boys, very, very
I remember
teen pop.
I remember
From the Gold Coast, maybe?
Yeah, because I remember the cover of their debut album was them all in, like, you know, you got wetsuits and you got steamers and spring suits. And the spring suits are the short wetsuits. It's them, 4 boys in short wetsuits, arms crossed, standing on like a Gold Coast beach. That was the cover of their album.
That might be the Indecent Obsession they were referring to in the title of the band.
All right, here we go. Indecent Obsession, also known as Obsession. We're an Australian pop rock band formed in early 1987 in Brisbane.
Okay.
With founding mainstays Daryl Sims on drums and Michael, and I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, Zamowski on keyboards.
Okay.
By 1988, the lineup included Andrew Coyne on lead guitar and David Dixon on lead vocals. Now,
Yeah,
David Dixon,
that's who we
he's the
remember.
Pretty Boy lead
Yes.
singer. And he looked like he was in Bros. He had the same vibe, right? They released 3 studio albums, Spoken Words, Indio. Both reached the top 50 on ARIA charts. In 1990, Spoken
Now,
Words...
was Spoken Words a spoken word album, or was that a funny thing they were doing?
It was repackaged for the United States, where it was self-titled as Indecent Obsession, which got into the Billboard Top 200.
Okay.
In May 1989, they issued their debut single, Say Goodbye, which peaked at number 6.
Say goodbye. Oh, no, don't.
Is that them?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's have a listen.
I think that's what I would remember.
All right. Is this sounding familiar?
I mean, it feels like it's the start of a training montage.
Yeah,
in a movie.
Rocky, yeah.
Pow.
Yeah.
Anger.
I mean, it's got...
Obsession.
Yeah, and being indecent.
Into your eyes.
Oh, you do remember it. I mean, it's so funny looking at these guys now. They look like 15 years old. Got a bit of Cody Simpson going on, this guy. David Dixon.
I mean, if they were going to make a David Dixon biopic.
Oh, they'd be too old now.
Cody Simpson. They could de-age him a little. He could also play the drummer based on this film clip. Say goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, no. Say
Yeah, right.
goodbye. Oh, no,
I mean, look, they have, and this is back in the day when music videos had budgets, because that looks like a $200,000 music video.
for Indecent Obsession.
For Indecent Obsession. Say Goodbye, which got
What
to
are they
number
up
6.
to? No, I mean, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. That was their highest charting single. The second single, Tell Me Something, which is the first song we listened to, reached number 17.
Okay.
When issued in the US, it peaked at number 31 on the Billboard Hot 100. So they're
not bad.
Not bad, considering they suck.
It's pretty good considering how much you suck in Indecent Obsession.
It reached number 1 in Indonesia and Hong Kong.
Oh.
And top 10 in Japan and South Africa. That sort of feels like the market. It feels like pre-K-pop, right?
Yes.
Gemma started watching...
Number 1 in Indonesia.
Gemma started watching this, I think it's a Netflix series, which is all about the building of a K-pop band. It's like an American producer and stuff are trying to put together an American K-pop for the K-pop market. And it's fascinating to see what big business it is, but how fucking ruthless. Like these...
Yeah, they've got schools and academies and training programs and
like the AIS.
Yeah.
Like these girls are like the best. It's like fucking Top
the
Gun.
best of the best.
The best of the
they
best.
recruit them.
Yeah, and they literally have got all in the top percentiles for dance, sing, looks, attitude. Like they rate them on and they have these charts, which is like, oh, great singer, great dancer, isn't cool enough. But then one girl's really cool, but she's not a great singer, and so they level up all the training. But watching these girls, and they're all like 17 to 20, I think. And I'm like, I don't have the level of work ethic and discipline of these kids who are just fucking doing these day and night in high heels and then going to cool class and then wardrobe fittings and non-stop.
Yeah. And you're doing all that. And then in 5 years, we're going to replace you with a whole bunch of new people that we've got through the academy right now.
For the Asian market, the band used the
By the way, do you think that number 1 in Indonesia, even back in the day, because 100 million people or whatever,
200 million.
200 million, is it? Yeah. So, but even adjusted for population inflation, I don't know how many there were in 1987.
Population.
But let's just say, is that, if you go number 1 in Indonesia, does that set you up for life based on how many people there are? Or do you think there's not a lot of people buying records?
Yeah, right. So it's kind of the idea of back in the 80s, you could live off a number 1 single, right?
Right. If you were number 1 in Indonesia, so if you're number 1 in New Zealand, small population, right? It's great that you're number 1, but probably can't buy a house off being number 1 in New Zealand. Number 1 in America, we know, okay, that sets you up for life. What does number 1 in Indonesia mean and set you up for, do you reckon?
I guess it depends on the deal you've got, right? I mean, this is also 1987, so I imagine the money would still be pretty good.
I think...
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Number 1 in China would be the way to go.
Right.
They got Hong Kong and they got Japan, which is also quite lucrative as well. I think, yes. But I feel like with this band, because there's 5 of them, and I would assume that they weren't the songwriters. That
Well, it
someone
feels
else
like the drummer and the keyboardist are the
maybe.
mainstays from the group.
Okay. In 1992, they were the first Western act to tour South Africa
there you
after
go.
the lifting of cultural isolation during the apartheid era. How about
I was
that?
going to say, think.
Can you
Okay.
like Nelson Mandela was like, finally, we can get a
Free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty we are free at last. Indecent Obsession next Thursday.
They were greeted by screaming fans and scenes of mass hysteria. Both their second album, Indio, and one of its singles, Kiss Me, peaked at number 1 in the relevant South African charts. Let's hear what the South Africans were into, right?
Yeah, let's.
Kiss Me.
I mean, whew.
All right, this is Kiss Me.
Okay.
I feel like they all start
They
the
all
same.
start exactly the same.
Like, what I love about it is it's like, we're bad boys of pop rock.
Totally. It's got a One Republic or something sort of feel to it. We're writing pop music, but it's like kind of makes it
Sexy.
feel like we're
This
rockers.
is not your grandfather's pop music.
A lot of Wind Machine, now Rain Machine.
Yeah. This is a lot of money spent in this music video. This went to number 1 in South Africa. I mean, it's fairly general. It could be Roxette. Don't you? It's
Got a
that
bit
kind
of Roxette
vibe.
about it, yeah.
I mean, I guess it's okay. Unexceptional to be number 1, though. She's got the look. She's got the look.
I mean, this is where it's building to something.
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, yeah, I feel like I remember this.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Okay, all right.
Don't love
so
it.
Indecent Obsession, so
They cracked South Africa and Indonesia. By 1993, Sims and Samowski
yeah.
were joined by Mark Gray on bass guitar, Richard Hennessy on lead vocals, and Graham Kearns on lead guitar. So they must have
So
thought,
Dixon's
this
gone.
money's never going to stop.
Yeah, but Dixon's gone.
Oh, yeah.
Dixon was the face
David
of the
Dixon.
band.
Yeah, I remember he went to Home and Away.
Ah.
He was I remember he turned up on Summer Bay with the leather jacket, and I was like, oh, he's a bad boy. You can tell he's got a leather jacket.
So the rest of the guys from Indecent Obsession have gone, well, you're off doing your thing.
You're an actor.
We're going to go on without you.
Yeah.
Much like I went on making FOFOP when you went home
when
and
I
away.
when I became the new
said
bad
you
boy.
couldn't.
They never gave me a leather jacket. I mean, it was funny. Just before I left, they brought in a new cast. And the actor James Stewart, he came in to play a bad boy. And I remember seeing when he's first done him, and he was wearing a leather jacket. And I was like, oh, bad boy.
Yeah.
Like, even in the year of 2024 of our Lord, a bad boy
Put
with
him
a
in a
leather
leather
jacket.
jacket.
The following year, they also issued another studio album, Relativity, before disbanding the year after. Okay. So Indecent Obsession were formed in 87 in Brisbane by David Dixon. So he was one of the founders on lead vocals. He got fucking white-anted by his own bandmates.
Feels like he's left.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
The band's name refers to
Oh, no.
famous Australian author's 1981 novel. Female author?
1981.
Yeah.
Novel.
Yeah, a novel. This author had a very famous, I believe, a film that's made into a very famous telemovie with Rachel Ward,
Okay.
Michael York.
Oh, Colleen McCulloch.
Colleen McCulloch had
Yep.
a novel called An Indecent Obsession, which was about a pop band from Brisbane. What? Oh, there was also a film made of the same name.
Okay.
I've never heard of the film Indecent Obsession. Indecent Obsession. No, Indecent Proposal. That was the Demi Moore one, right?
Indecent Obsession was the sequel.
Yeah.
Where
Couldn't
he
stop paying.
Couldn't stop at one night.
Offering $1 million to
Every
people's
night.
wives. Dixon and Samowski had met through their voice teacher. In 1988, Daryl Sims joined on drums, Paul O'Donnell on guitar. O'Donnell was replaced by Andrew Coyne on guitar because they wanted to make a bit more.
Coin.
For a year and a half, they performed in the local pub rock scene and recorded demos. I mean, I got to imagine late 80s in Joe Bjelke-Petersen's Queensland, like a bunch of pretty boys.
Got called a lot of slurs. Got called a lot of slurs
like-
by unsuspecting punters just sipping their 4X up the back of the room.
It's not cold
And
chisel.
going, what's this?
You pretty boys. For a year and a half, they performed in the local pub rock scene. Sims later recalled they were underaged, playing in pubs in Brisbane, up to Cairns in the mining towns in between.
Oh, that would have been
That's
they would have got a
fucking
few
indecent
proposals.
I imagine. You can't look like a chick. This'll do.
Oh, oh no.
I mean, I'm finding this charming.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is unless that glam pretty boy image came, like maybe they were a lot rougher before. But I mean, I would be interested to see, like,
maybe they got a glow up.
I mean, In Excess were a pub rock band,
Yeah.
and then they became very
Yes.
well. I guess Michael Hutchence was very pretty. I don't know about the rest of In Excess being pretty boys. Would you say
They all styled up though.
yes?
They all like
Popped up,
had
glammed
looked,
up.
Yeah.
But you'd say Michael Hutchence is a real, like, he's a semi-androgynous pretty boy frontman, and they did pub gigs where he would have been putting up with those same kind of.
But at the same time, there was like Nick Cave and these other
Yeah, I
people
guess
who
so.
were
challenging archetypes. Okay, so they played the pub rock scene, recorded demos. Sims later recalled they were underage. Initially, they played cover versions of okay, that's what they're doing. So they weren't playing Indecent Obsession material. They're doing Duran Duran,
yeah.
In Excess,
Yep.
Crowded House, and sure to win over the miners, George Michael. So that's fairly pop. I mean that's a Crowded House is the one that stands out. Duran Duran, In Excess, and George Michael.
Very
Or,
poppy. Well, I mean, Crowded House
Wham.
is poppy as well. It's just presented in a different way, but the songs are very poppy. Or at least they can be.
I don't
very
think this
poppy.
timeline checks out of my head though. So if we're saying that this is 1988,
Yeah,
Crowded House around in.
yeah, they would have. Their first album would have been out.
Okay. They signed with Molly Meldrum's record label, Melodian. Meldrum had hosted Countdown, blah, blah, blah. And they were distributed by Mushroom. Indecent Obsession relocated to Melbourne, where they became known for their mix of pop rock and dance pop songs. That's right. That doesn't really exist anymore, does it? Dance, pop rock. Because it's all R&B, it feels like, now. If you're going to have a dance element. Like, I mean, it's funny. I was listening to a bit of Guns N' Roses the other day, one of the Use Your Illusion albums, and there's a line in it where it's like a rock song where Axl's like, it's from Appetite, where Axl's like, I don't give a shit, I just want to dance. And I'm like, really? Like, when you think of Guns N' Roses, like, don't see many people like cutting up the rug to, you headbang or you thrash or whatever, but you're not dancing to Guns N' Roses, are you?
Well, I guess is he talking about though that swivel? Like all that, he probably considered that to be dancing. He probably didn't say,
I just want to dance.
I just want to do like my impression of that little inflatable guy they have out the front of like tire stores.
In 1989, the group issued their debut single, Say Goodbye, which peaked at number 6, despite the lack of support from commercial radio, and it remains their highest-selling song. The track had been co-written by Dixon and Samowski with their producer, Mark Berry. The second single, Tell Me Something, reached number 17, was co-written by Dixon Samowski and Ian McKenzie from Pseudo Echo. Okay. So that's the analogy we should have used. Indecent Obsession, Pseudo Echo to Indecent Obsession. Pseudo Echo would have been bigger than
Indecent Obsession. Yeah, I would have thought so.
What was Pseudo Echo's big? Funky Town.
Funky Town, which is a cover. So
yeah, right. So maybe not. I mean, surely they had other songs, Pseudo Echo.
Oh no, we're really going to go down a rabbit hole here.
The B-side, Why Do People Fall in Love, was co-written by Dixon Samowski, but was produced by Samowski. Okay. In the following year, Indecent Obsession issued their debut album.
Why do people fall in love? That feels like such a
or more of a George Carlin, like, people fall in love. What a crock of shit. What is love? It's just David Dixon doing a Carlin. 7 words you can't say when you're fucking. Or something like that.
Oh my God.
Peaked at number 23. The album was co-produced by Ross Inglis and Samowski, except who gives a shit. Ian McFarlane, Australian musicologist, felt the album was patchy, ranging from the polished synth pop of Tell Me Something to the contrived melodramatic ballad of Come To Me. The group were marketed as a boy band and teen pop act. An image Coyne refuted because he wanted to make
dollar bill.
The dollar bills, y'all. He told The Age's Caroline Milburn, Say Goodbye was not a wimpy song, yet we had this pretty boy image. Our record company had pushed this teen image so radio won't play us. I get frustrated when I'm not recognized as a musician. Say goodbye. Oh, no. That's a wimpy song. I mean, what did you think that was going to be?
I mean, maybe there was an original version of it. It's a little bit more. Say goodbye. Oh, no, say goodbye. That's
Sorry,
the original demo.
To that.
Sorry, I apologise.
It's funny. Johnny Mackay, Fascinator, our mate. I have this. There's certain friends of mine where I have running jokes, which not necessarily that they're part of. It's something that I Oh, is it a running joke if it's only coming from one person? It's more of a meme, I guess. So like with Broden, I will leave voice messages as David King. With Johnny Mackay, it's probably been about 6 years now of he was DJing once in Sydney, and I popped by on the way home and hung out for a bit. And I thought it'd be really funny to keep going up to him while I was DJing and requesting Ace of Base. and so now just periodically I will send him like a request for Ace of Base or an Ace of Base clip or whatever. And he always takes it in his stride, but sometimes doesn't respond. And then I think it was for my birthday, or maybe it was Jen's birthday one year, he sent us a video of him doing a folksy acoustic version of All That She Wants, which I think he thought was going to be like a button on it. Like,
that's it.
We're done.
We're done.
We're done.
This is what we've been building towards, and now it is done.
But then I was listening to Triple J Unearthed. Oh, not Unearthed. Like a version. And someone did like a real jazzy version of All That She Wants. And they were interviewing her afterwards, the artist, and she was saying, oh, yeah, like when you slow it down and you listen to the lyrics, it's actually, it's not just his pop song. It's like quite a dark song.
All That She Wants is another baby.
Yeah, is this inability to conceive a second
He's gone
child or
tomorrow,
yeah.
but all she wants is another baby.
And I was like, oh, how do I clip this and send this to Johnny?
How do I make this a joke?
Yeah.
How do I make this a bit? How do I memify this sincere and beautiful moment?
Okay, so he was upset that
Mick Thomas, by the way, from Weddings, Parties, Anything, has a great solo song where he tells the story because he's a great storyteller, and then he'll play songs in between Mick. And if you ever get to see him solo, and he one of his songs, he does a great thing where he talks about, I wrote this song. I was in like wherever he was one night, and the people in the room next to me, all they were doing was listening to, All That She Wants Is Another Baby over and over and over again. Anyway, I woke up the next day and I was like, I've written this like amazing song. Here it is. I'm going to play it for you. Just see if you hear any similarities. And then he plays it. And it's like one of those things where, like when he's playing the first verse of it, you're like, I can kind of see what he's saying. And then he literally just does like kind of a remix of All That She Wants Is Another Baby in the middle of it. And you're like, oh yeah, this is the same song. You've written All That She Wants Is Another Baby.
have you seen that? There's a horror film that Dave Grohl made with the other Foo Fighters during lockdown. I think it's called Hotel 666. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it.
It's really it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's very indulgent, but I like that.
Not all he was up to during lockdown.
Clearly.
From what I'm hearing.
Yeah. But there's a bit in it where the premise is like they've hired this house in the Hollywood Hills to write their new Foo Fighters album. But he's got writer's block. And there's this bit where he comes down, he's really excited, and he starts playing songs, and they're like, they just keep naming other artists, like, no, that's Bruno Mars, no, that's this, no, that's that. It's like, motherfucker! It's like, must be hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so they relocated, not a wimpy song, I Get Frustrated. Come Back to Me appeared as the album's third single, which reached number 40. That month, they also toured Australia supporting pop singer, who's a big US...
Oh, US pop singer.
American
Tiffany.
Right next to her.
Belinda Carlisle.
No, but you're in the right ballpark.
US singer.
Her surname is also a very famous brand of guitar.
Okay.
Yeah. Also a famed anti-Semite.
She is?
No. The surname. So it shares the name with a famous anti-Semite.
Belinda Hitler. A guitar and a
Who's the most famous? Like, well, in recent memory, when people talk about
Anti-Semites.
yeah, and kind of repeat offender anti-Semite.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I don't keep a list of anti-Semites.
Well, that's because you're an anti-Semite.
Is it? It feels like, okay, well, maybe that is true. Not that I'm an anti-Semite, but that it would be an indicator of.
Often,
Roseanne Barr.
no, often considered an Australian anti-Semite.
Oh, often considered an Australian anti-Semite.
Considered an Australian, but was not actually born here.
Oh,
Really? You're missing something
and a
right in
singer.
front of you. No, not a singer. Just a celebrity, a big movie star.
Oh, this is just the name.
Yes, the name.
Oh,
Namesake.
sorry.
Oh, is it done?
Okay. Yeah, no, confused. So, not Kidman.
No.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just saying. I'm trying to work out what.
Who is the most famous? Like, it's almost like a punchline of this man being an anti-Semite.
Oh, Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were talking about a man.
Yeah.
That's where I got
that's right,
confused.
because it was female pop
I was,
stars.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Debbie Gibson.
Debbie Gibson.
Yes, okay.
Their fourth single, Never Gonna Stop, peaked at 72. In early 1990, Tell Me Something was picked up by US radio and got to number 31 in the Billboard. Now, the interesting question would be, is getting to number 31 on the Billboard Hottest 100 better or worse than getting to number one in Indonesia? I'd say no. I'd say Billboard would be more
I just
valuable.
don't know how many people are buying albums in Indonesia.
In English too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think music does travel in that way that it doesn't necessarily need to be, particularly English-speaking music, I think, was popular all around the world. But, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, they went on to tour with Kylie Minogue through Europe and East
Be great
Asia.
if Kylie, because Kylie's just announced a big tour of Australia.
And she brings back Indecent Obsession.
Brings back Indecent Obsession as the opening act.
Okay.
Throw David Dixon a bone.
This is a fairly depressing subheading on Wikipedia.
Great.
So it goes from, it's Indio and relativity into demise.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
91, they moved to LA, where they recorded their second album, Indio. In 92, the album was released by MCA for North American and European markets. It peaked at number 36 on the Austrian album charts.
No.
Mate, did the marketing manager didn't misunderstood where they were from? We want to hit your target market.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to your home country of Austria.
Yeah. yeah. We've done a big push in Austria.
Yeah.
We've got you to number 36.
In Australia, Indio appeared in August on Melodian, Molly's company, which reached the number 40 in the albums charts.
Oh,
McFarlane,
so it did better in Austria than it did in Australia.
This fucking McFarlane music journal, he gets quoted again for some reason. He observed that it showed the group's transition from naive pop to mature, radio-friendly dance music. Okay. So he's a fan of that. The second album's four Australian singles are Rebel with a Cause, with no link, Kiss Me, which we just listened to, Gentleman Style, which with no link, Gentleman Style. It sounds like a strip club, doesn't it? I'll see you a Gentleman Style.
Or just a position.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to do a gentleman style?
What does that mean? You wear this monocle. During 1992, the group toured Latin America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Indecent Obsession became the first Western act to tour South Africa after the lifting of the cultural isolation. McFarlane, again, describes how the group were greeted by screaming fans and scenes of massive... Was McFarlane on the payroll? How come he keeps writing
I mean, I feel
column
like...
after column on
I feel
Indecent
like
Obsession?
McFarlane's written one thing on Indecent Obsession and there's no other source material, so it's mostly come from McFarlane.
At the start of the US tour that year, their producer, musician Mark Gray, and here's another simile. Remember Wah Wah Nee?
Yes.
Wah Wah Nee, Pseudo Echo, Indecent Obsession.
Right.
Let's throw a blanket over them. Coyne and Dixon left, and according to Samowski, Dixon was getting sick of touring and he wanted to pursue something else, which is when he became the new bad boy of Summer Bay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they moved from LA to London, where Richard Hennessy replaced Dixon on lead vocals and Graham Kearns replaced Coyne on guitar. So you reckon this has been 3 or 4 years? You reckon they must have done okay? You think? Like Jet had one good album that sort of got them at least 5 or 6 years. Wolf Mother got one good album. Got them.
I don't think we're going to see, Indecent Obsession and the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra doing a reunion tour, though.
Yeah, right. That'd
Could there
amazing,
be
though. And they
an
come out in the
ironic
wetsuits.
reclamation of Indecent Obsession?
Well, let's see what they're up to. Subsequent careers.
Yeah.
So Dixon left in 1992 to pursue a career in acting, including the role of Joseph in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Okay, so he's following a Jason Donovan style. A single released to coincide with this, Joseph Megamix, peaked at number 53 in the Australian charts. In 94, Dixon recorded a solo single, Faith, Love and Understanding, which was a minor radio hit in South Africa. and peaked at 114 in Australia. That's a bit of an oxymoron to say you peaked at 100. In June, he acted as Marius in the cast of Les Miserables and later performed in Smoky Joe's Cafe. In addition to musical theatre, he portrayed Nathan Roberts on the Australian TV soap opera
Nathan.
Home and Away. Can we find out? They've got a hyperlink to Nathan Roberts.
Let's find out about Nathan Roberts.
Okay.
I feel like my obsession with Indecent Obsession is over. I don't really care what the rest of them got up to. I need to know what happened to David Dixon.
Okay, so
and Nathan Roberts.
Nathan Roberts made his first appearance during in October 1993. Nathan arrives in Summer Bay and causes trouble with the local residents.
Oh, yeah.
Dixon told Ralph Galpin from Big Magazine that Nathan gets into everything and does everything.
Does everything.
Adding, shit, come to think of it, I think I, as in Nathan, get into a fight with everybody. Oh. I'd love if that's the
with
first,
everyone.
just punching Alf, Irene. Just on the beach, just like the end of like Step Brothers, just like throwing haymakers, just knocking out people.
Just comes out of the ocean, emerges out of the ocean, and starts punching
Swinging
people one
without
by one.
explanation, wearing the same
That's how he's
wetsuit
introduced. Wearing a wetsuit
that he wore on
and
the
a
cover.
leather jacket.
He explained that his character steals cameras, money, and even attempts to steal Sarah Thompson's virginity.
All right. Ocean's 14.
Oh, mate, I hate it when you go into cash converters and you see all those virginities behind the glass. Someone's clearly stolen
This is
that.
secondhand, mate. This has been Nick. This is a hot virginity.
Okay. Nathan lures Sarah into the back of his car and seduces her in scenes which served as Dixon's first on-screen kiss. Oh. He revealed that he did not enjoy filming the tryst because he was too busy concentrating on speaking the following lines.
Okay.
What line? But then they don't give us any lines. Oh. This is a weird
I mean, the
entry.
following lines after the kiss.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
He had a boner. That's what I'm assuming. Nathan's scenario with Sarah caused angst between her and her ex-boyfriend, Tug O'Neill.
Oh, no, Tug. Who was Tug?
I don't know. Oh, portrayed by Tristan Banks. He's an author now.
Okay.
What do you call it? YA author.
Okay.
During one fight scene with Banks, in which Tug was supposed to shove Nathan, and this is the most like Home and Away. You call it, what do they call it? You rack off. Told him to rack off. During one fight scene in which
Rack off, Tug.
in which Banks is supposed to shove Nathan after he brands him a jerk.
You're a jerk, Nathan.
Dixon complained that Banks actually caused him pain.
Oh, no. You hurt me.
Of Nathan's enemies, he gained. Of Nathan's enemies, he gained. Who wrote this? It's so hard to read. Of Nathan's enemy, he gains. Dixon stated, "Tug goes from hating me to loving me to hating me."
Oh.
Damien Roberts, played by Matt Duran from the Matrix films, hates, loves, and hates me. Ray Marr, Alf, hates me.
Hates him.
Luke Cunningham really hates me.
Yeah, right.
And Adam Cameron loves me.
Okay.
Dixon remained on the role for a period of 3 months. While he finished filming, he spoke of resuming his career in music. In 2012, Lynn McRanger, I love Lynny, told a writer from What's on TV that she would love her on-screen son, Nathan, to return to the serial. She added, last time we saw him, he was off touring with an Irish nurse. So I think he's gone back to Ireland and is going to get married there. Oh, okay. So he's not...
The character.
He's not...
The person.
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Okay. Oh, so the character must have been a rock star as well then. In April 1994, Biggs Gulpin said that Nathan caused havoc in Summer Bay, getting up just about everybody's noses. Okay, so he was on parole from juvenile detention. He claimed to be reformed, but then stole a caravan park customer's camera, blah, blah, blah. Alf catches him and then punches Nathan.
Oh no! So he was punching everybody.
There's a lot of punching going on here. He gets paroled and then gets into another punch
But that
up.
sounds like he was Irene's son in the show. And Irene's still in the show.
Yeah,
right?
So he could come back.
So he could come back with a family of his own.
What do you think he's doing?
Because that's what happens with those older Summer Bay, right? You can come back as an adult, move back to Summer Bay, have your own family. This could be an opportunity for David Dixon, I reckon.
Well, it's going to come full circle here because we started talking about Australian Crawl. So Michael Samowski worked as a producer for all-girl groups Cherry and Bardot.
Yeah.
And Australian Idol contestant Guy Sebastian, Shannon Knoll, Kate DeRugo.
Okay.
Daryl Sims joined Sydney-based alternative bands Vaporware, Insurge and Primary.
Okay.
And then it says... Mark Gray was in various groups. Gank, the Tanya Bauer Band, Greedy's on the Loose, which I'm thinking is Greedy Smith from Mentals Anything, and the James Rain Band.
Okay.
And then Richard Hennessy moved to Sydney and became a graphic designer. But there's no link to David Dixon, so I'm assuming he's retired.
I'd like to know what's going on with David Dixon these days.
He was such a pretty boy.
Ah.
That's our Indecent Obsession episode. I mean, we could have gone into so many more rabbit holes. I'm going to find that album cover of them in the wetsuits. How do I find that?
I don't know. Indecent Obsession album cover, probably, and then images, and then it'll probably just pop up, I imagine.
Obsession.
I would have thought so anyway, but I don't know.
It must be, like, are there pop acts in Australia anymore?
Are there pop acts in Australia?
Like, because aren't they all sort of alternative?
Is not Troy Sivan a pop act?
I don't know who that is.
Okay. What about the Kid Leroy? Is he a pop act or is he hip hop?
I think
is he
because
like
I feel
an
like
R&B. What's the
well,
Kid
what I mean
Leroy?
by a pop act is like his Idol. I mean, is Idol?
Idol's still a thing.
Is it?
Well, it has
X
been
Factor
recently.
and The Voice.
And The Voice.
And they still turn those people.
I don't know.
Yeah, because that used to be the Factory. That was the new Factory line.
I mean, I imagine there is pop music.
That's the one
Australia
I was thinking
still,
about.
Right?
Describe that to people. I'll hold up to the camera.
Okay, so Indecent Obsession, they are all in. Well, they're actually being quite sun smart. Two of them, they're in wetsuits, so they're in the sort of 3/4 length,
spring suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Spring wetsuit.
Whereas the other two are in like one of them's topless, like shirtless. Sorry,
topless.
Well, I mean topless, shirtless, and then he's in the sort of 3/4 length wetsuit pants, and then there's a guy in the longer wetsuit pants, but he's shirtless as well. So, kind of half of it look like guys who get in the shower in their undies at footy training, and then the other half is like, we don't care, tops off, we're ready to go.
But what I want to, okay, so this is for the album Spoken Words, your favorite album, is like, what is the art director? Like, of all the, like, think about album covers, especially in the 80s, and how creative people got with them.
What
and
if
their best idea?
We put them in very small surf.
Small surf.
Get them to take their tops off.
Like, it's also just like the most uninteresting background. It's not like...
No, it's not.
It's just
beautiful.
It looks like it'd be Port Phillip Bay. Like, there's nothing about it. It's not even like the skyscrapers of the Gold Coast.
Put it that way. It could be any beach anywhere in the world.
Anywhere. Yeah. And it doesn't really tell you anything about the band. Because it's not
they
surf
love the beach,
music.
man. They love the beach and they love blow drying their hair. That's what I've learned about them.
And they've got very shriveled penises by the looks.
But also they've got bodies that young men don't have anymore.
Which is like normal.
Normal bodies.
Normal bodies.
Yeah. Like, but that's meant to be kind of sexy. That's the sexy version of that era. Whereas today, if somebody posted that on their Instagram, they would get cyberbullied.
Yeah. It's funny too, isn't it? Like, musicians of all the kind of teen idols are it's least necessary for them to be ripped. Unless you're a dancer, I guess.
I think if they're selling them as a boy band, which means you're trying to target teenage girls, the thinking would have been, we want them to have their shirts off on the cover of the album. What is a scenario in which we can make it seem natural that they have their shirts off?
I mean, Brisbane's not even near a beach.
No. Absolutely not.
Can you go stand in the Brisbane River?
Just had to go down that little beach at South Bank that they now have.
I mean, you know what? Ironically, that looks like a still from Home and Away. Like if you were advertising, we've got 4 new River Boys.
Well, maybe David Dixon one day was like on
hey,
tour
wait
and
a
he was like,
minute.
when was I most happy?
Yeah, when I was
Remember that
standing,
day I stood in the ocean,
punching
on my feet
everyone.
in the ocean, I was punching everyone.
just got to a fight with everyone. Oh, what a little strange little footnote
interesting.
in the Australian music scene. Indecent Obsession were.
And so where did they come from? Australian Crawl. That's what we were talking
Yeah.
about. Australian Crawl and
Australian
James Rone.
Crawl. I was saying
Austrian Crawl were a different, slightly more successful.
I was
band.
saying Indecent
Yes.
Obsession to pseudo echo what Australian Crawl were to the sports. Do you remember the sports?
Yeah, but
Not really.
not enough to
I can't think of one song.
fully
of theirs.
understand
I know
that.
more Australian Crawl songs than I know the sports. So it sounds like my brother doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about. I think
I think that's the only conclusion that we have come to based on this conversation.
That we can
your
draw.
brother is full of shit.
Growing up in my house, there was there was certain albums that was like Skyhooks, there was the sports, and what's that band? Take a look at my girlfriend. She's a one on one. Ba-dum bum bum. Give a little bit of your. What's that guy? Or that band? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Ah,
But I can't quite place it based on your versions. But I
Give a little bit.
I recognize
Supertramp.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, Supertramp.
I recognize both those songs that you were singing, but I not enough to go. That's
Take a
definitely.
look at my girlfriend. She's the only one I want.
Last night I was in the apartment next to me. People were having a grand final party, and it was an hour at which it's Saturday night after the grand final. They can be as rowdy as they need to be. But they were singing along very loudly to songs. Like songs would come on and then they
What
would
kind
all
of
just...
songs?
So this is the thing. A lot of the time I didn't recognize the songs.
Okay.
So sometimes they were football themed. So there was like Take Me Home Country Road, like as in like not themed to the football,
But songs
related
associated
to the grand final that had been played and the songs that had been sung in that grand final. But then they were just getting out into just different songs. And there was a point where I was like, I don't know what this song is. And then I would just start Googling the lyrics I could make out through the wall
Oh my
of the
God,
songs
you're such a nerd.
to work out like what the song was. I was like, what's this one about learning to fly? And then sometimes you haven't got enough of the words. So you're just trying to... Turns out there is a lot of songs that have to do with learning to fly.
Yeah.
But I finally worked out what it was. It was called like Breakaway or something by Kelly Clarkson. I learned my wings and I learned how to fly.
Is that an old song? Isn't Kelly Clarkson like she's
I guess it's
yesterday's
an old song.
news?
Yeah, I guess so. But it was like a
you're,
real sing-along.
You're more plugged into music and popular music than me. And so I will occasionally stumble across like something in my feed or whatever. And it's like, oh, here's like, is it Chapel
Roan?
Roan, who's 400 million followers and is this new star. And it's like, what? When did this happen? How come I don't know about it? Like,
Chapel Roan's been around for a while, but has recently become super popular off the back of, I think, there was initially a Taylor Swift connection of some kind, but more just like a alt pop,
queer, right?
Queer, like songs about like fucking and being queer and like stuff, but also very performatively drag. I think very lefty. There's been a lot of controversy. I mean, this is 3 weeks after
she's endorsed Donald Trump.
But no, but she wasn't one of the people who was going to say, I'm going to endorse Kamala because Kamala, because she said, I've got problems with the stance on what's going on with the war and all sorts of other issues. I think they were pretty, like, reasoned for someone who has left-wing perspective on politics. They were all very reasonable things to say, to be honest, I thought. But people were upset about that. And,
That's really?
Yeah.
People get outraged?
I know. Who would have thought, right? But they also, she was the one who spoke about the parasocial relationships that fans have with artists and was quite vocal about it, but people hate when you do that because apparently you've got to be incredibly grateful to like the unreasonable intrusions on your life that these super fans want to have, as part of the price of being a big celebrity.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? It's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because if you actively pursue it, then it's like, well, you asked for this, and if you pull away from it, it's like, well, what do you expect? Like, you're a public persona, you have to open yourself up to all this kind of stuff. It's like, well, where do you? I mean, you're famous. You are. I mean,
well known.
Well known,
In
but
a small-
to
big
the
fish
point
in a
where
small
that,
pond.
like in Australia,
Yeah, okay.
like you go into places where, like we just had lunch down and a couple of people recognized you when we walked in and stuff. But you also do not project you don't draw attention to yourself.
No.
And you also don't have a persona which is like, hey, everyone come up and shake my hand. I want to talk to you.
No.
Like there's certain kind of like celebrities who are like, and so do you
Yeah,
feel...
there are even people that I know who I'm friends with, who I'm peers with, who do have that. And again, this is not a judgment, but they really have that, like, I'm here, and everyone should be kind of like looking, or at least it's almost like they're not even like they're saying it. They just kind of carry that with them as part of their aura or personality or whatever it might be. Like, so even when people aren't courting it, there's just a sense about them that, draws people to their...
But when you first got famous, like you first did Hey Hey or whatever, the Maxi Bon ads, whatever it was at first kind of got you recognized, have you always kind of maintained that separation between like, hey, like I don't want this attention, or did you lean into it for a bit and go, oh, hang on, I don't like that, and pull back?
I mean, I think that like there must have been, I think there must have been a period where, because the reason you get into these sort of things, like the thing that I say a lot is the reason that you start doing something is often not the reason you continue to do something. So the thing that gets you in the door doesn't necessarily, and often if it is only that thing that got you in the door that you find interesting about the thing that you do, then that's a tough life to lead. I think there's got to be a little bit of like, I would like people to pay attention to me to get you to start doing it. Then you see some people always just, that's all they ever become about, like is chasing that attention for the rest of their life. And then some other people you think, oh, actually, this is what I like about what it is. And I don't actually like that other bit of it. And you start to curate that a little bit more into like how you interact with the world. And the thing that I find the most interesting about that is that I think that the world is pretty malleable to you trying to, like, not in all cases, but in a general sense, if you go out into the world with that vibe of, I'm not about all that, then that is also how people will treat you, has been my experience.
Well, it's that analogy, that story they tell about like Bruce Springsteen and Michael Jackson, right? Like when they're at their peak of their fame.
They were both as famous as each other. But
but Bruce Springsteen could walk into any shop and not get hassled because he didn't have an entourage, he didn't attract attention, where Michael Jackson was the opposite. And I think Matt Damon used that analogy for him and Ben Affleck when he did Enough Rope, Andrew Denton's show, because Ben Affleck was dating J-Lo and Matt Damon was like, I just never... Like that, not judging Ben, but you date the world's most famous pop star, that's going to come. Whereas, like I think his wife is was a makeup artist or something, and so he says he just doesn't draw that attention. And you probably saw. I mean, did you ever see Matt Damon in the Northern Rivers? I've seen him a couple of times just hanging around, and it's true. Like I saw him just like sitting at a cafe reading the newspaper once, and no one was going up to him or asking for photos or anything because it's like he didn't present like someone who wanted their photo taken. So it's like, okay, we'll just leave you alone. Yeah,
I mean, also the other thing is, whenever anybody's actually talks to me, it's always fine and a lovely interaction. But I've certainly not dissuaded people from the idea that it wouldn't be. If anyone thinks that it wouldn't go well, I've thought that was like a good assumption for people to generally have, which is, even though, like, I generally find most interactions you have. The other thing is, as cliched as it is, so there's two things with me. One is, I've always thought that part of having like a distinctive haircut is like a disguise, right? Because the minute you cover a distinctive haircut, you look like a completely different person. So all I have to do to not look like me, the difference I will notice in my life if I am out without my hat versus if I've got my hat on is
your hair is 90%.
It's like a magic trick.
Yeah, right.
Like it's so weird. Like I went to the grand final. There's 100,000 people there. We do a footy podcast. I'm on a radio network that predominantly talks about football. If there's ever, that's like me going to the Big Day Out in the old days when I was at Triple J. You're at a place where there are people who actively consume the thing that you do. You put on your hat and your sunglasses, and yes, occasionally somebody would walk by and say good day, but as a general rule, you are very anonymous and you're just able to go about your own business. But I bet if I was in a suit and had my hair up, like, but suddenly, you'd be, that's like, you'd be, the guys who you'd see from the sports media or whatever, like the amount of like footballers like Nathan Buckley or people like that, Michael O'Loughlin, that I was seeing getting stopped as they were just trying to walk into the ground because they're dressed as, oh,
You
look,
see
there's
them on
somebody
Fox
to,
Footy.
right?
Yeah. You don't
Whereas
want
I think if Nathan Buckley had been wearing a cap and sunglasses and just like going in, I don't think people are necessarily going, oh, that's Nathan Buckley.
It's true, actually, because I've never seen Nathan Buckley in real life. My only impression is what I see of him on TV. So if I see him looking
Dressed like he is on TV.
the same on TV, then yeah.
You
that makes
immediately
sense.
go, oh, that's, yeah.
Yeah, that's Chapel Roan. All right. That is another TOFOP. Thanks you once again for being a patron. We love it. If you like the show, please recommend to other people and encourage them to join, even for as little as $1 a month. Every little cent helps us keep doing the show, which we love doing. There'll be another episode coming out soon. Not sure when. We're recording these in bulk. We'll work that stuff out later. But for now, I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson.